Alrighty, so match week number 15 is now in the books, and this was definitely a match week for the road team, wasn't it? I mean, pretty much all but two road team were able to get at least a point. There was a lot of row win that happened this week, and that include in the first part of this review where I'm going to look at the first 8 games. Pretty much all the road team were able to get either a draw or a win, and no home team won a game in the first 8 games that I'm going to talk about. And that includes the first one, which is Atlanta versus LAFC, as LAFC gets the 1-0 win. And I might be doing a video about Atlanta United and talk about their 9-game winless run and also their record 4 straight loss at home this season because, yeah, it is not going well for the five stripe right now, and the seats are just getting hotter for Gonzalo Pineda and even VM Carlos Bocanegra. Now, in the first half, Bowanga would hit one right to Guzan before Silva would hit one right to Lloris. Oliveira would then hit it right to Guzan, as there was a couple of half chances for both of these teams, but relatively, it's been easy for both goalkeepers to deal with. Guzan would deny Bogusz from close range, as I thought LAFC started to push for the opener. And he had a shot that was deflected and goes wide. And this came after a bad giveaway from Atlanta. Turnovers has been a problem throughout the season for Atlanta and throughout this 9-game winless run. That's definitely played part of it, and it played part of it in this game as well. But on the other end, John De Silva would put it into Rosette before Rios would just miss an absolute sitter from close range. That shot pretty much summarized the season for Atlanta and really summarizes this 9-game run that this team has. Nothing has just seems to go right in front of goal for Atlanta right now, and we head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, at the hour mark, we see a sending off from Brad Guzan because, yeah, Brad Guzan decided to come off his lines. He was trying to do something that Dane Sinclair did, which is basically just kind of hit this one as he comes off his lines. But unfortunately, he got this one all wrong. I mean, he basically hits this one right to Bogusz, and then he had to bring down Bogusz there because he realized that the mistake that he made in this one. By the way, this won't be the only time we'll talk about a goalkeeper decided to come off his lines and being a little bit too cute or trying to clear their lines and got it completely wrong. And yeah, that obviously is a denial of goal score opportunity, and that means that Guzan is gone. So instead, Kohan coming on for Guzan in this game, as Rios basically were sacrificed as the outfield player, and Atlanta, of course, went down to 10 men, and LAFC made no time to punish Atlanta and Brad Guzan of that mistake, because on the ensuing free kick, Bogusz would score on the free kick, and what was a great free kick for him. I mean, again, just instant punishment that was given to Atlanta from that mistake that Guzan, of course, made. And just like that, it was 1-0 in favor of LAFC. Kohan did deny Bowanga as the flag went up. Well, Josh Kohan did well in this game. And anytime when you're a goalkeeper that are not expected to play, either because the starting goalkeeper got injured during the game, or in this case, a red card, of course, happened. It is very difficult situation to deal with, and I thought Josh Cohan did a relatively good job. And he's gonna have to do it again in the next one, knowing that Guzan is not gonna be available because of the red card. But there was no doubt that I thought LAFC smelled blood and they were pressing to get that second goal. But this is where we started to see the problem of LAFC before. So before I've mentioned about LAFC and that despite the fact that when they go up a man, it seems like that kind of makes LAFC worse. And I thought that was kind of past narrative that I've seen before, but in this game, it kind of fits that old narrative that for whatever reason, LAFC just doesn't look comfortable when they're up a man and always give their opposition chances because here comes Atlanta as Amada would miss just wide from close range before Tiari heads it into the side netting. Lloris then denied not Janitze, but Wiley gets a second crack of it and he puts that one high. There was no doubt Atlanta was pressing back to get the equalizer. Again, when you look at this game, you didn't think that LAFC were up a man in Atlanta were down a man in this one. Lloris then denied Mosquera after he gave it straight to Mosquera there. So yeah, that was almost a bad mistake there from Hugo Lloris. There were a lot of goalkeeping mistakes from this week as well. But anyway, in the 81st minute, we would go 10v10 as Weston gets a second yellow card in this one. Williams then puts it high from close range. You can clearly see LAFC was holding on for dear life. Atlanta was pressing hard. They were throwing the kitchen sink for the equalizer. Abraham would puts it wide from close before Muyumba puts it wide from long range in the 8th minute stoppage time. But in the end, LAFC, they hold on in this one. The Blues once again rain down at MBS because it's now fourth straight loss for Atlanta United at home, and now the winless run has reached 9 games. Shots in this one, 16 shots for the 14 that LAFC had, and it's because of lack of run. I don't think Atlanta played bad in this game, but just the finishing is just not there for them, and that one lapse concentration from Brad Guzan just kind of cost them in this one. 4 shots on goal compared to 5 that LAFC had. 9 shots off target compared to 1 that LAFC had. 7 shots was blocked for the 3 that Atlanta has. And Atlanta had more of the possession, 60% possession compared to 40% possession LAFC had. But in the end, LAFC, their second win on the road this season. And all of a sudden, like I said, they're starting to, to, to climb up the standings. And this is not great news for the Western Conference. Well, unless you're RSL that is still sitting pretty comfortably in the standings. But yeah, if LAFC start to get going, they are going to be a very dangerous team and a team that, once again, like what we've seen the last 2 seasons, to be once again the favorites coming out of the West. Now, moving on in the next match. So this is the game I mentioned how in the preview, yeah, don't expect there's going to be a lot of goals that's being scored and there's not really a lot of action. Well, we actually did kind of get action in this one, but as I expected, not only there wasn't a lot of goals that was scored, there was no goal that was scored in this one as it ends in a scoreless draw. Charlotte, I thought was on the front foot early in this one as the first shot of the goal did see Semlin deny Pekovic in the front post, but the shots were only 1-0 from Charlotte early in. Again, this felt like a very Charlotte game. This is a team that they don't play. They play a pretty grand soccer under Dean Smith, but they play that kind of grind, kind of the kind of soccer where they'll maybe score like one goal and that will be enough for them to get all 3 points. So that being said, on the other end, Kalina would absolutely rob Gastek from a point blank effort there. That was some cat-like reflex save there from Christian Kalina. Rob Gastek that he was on the doorstep of goal, and yeah, he couldn't believe that he missed that chance. But McGlynn would hit one right to Kalina before Sullivan would do the same thing just 2 minutes later. The Union was starting to create some sustained pressure, looking for the opener, and then Carranza would hit the sign ending from close range. This could potentially be the last season for Julian Carranza with the Philadelphia Union because there's a lot of rumors surrounding that he could be going to Europe as soon as this next transfer window. We do head to halftime with the scoreline 0-0. And in the second half, just like the first half, not much really happened in the start of the second half. It would pick up though, as in the 61st minute, Carranza missed wide from long range before Kalina denied Gastek in the near post. On the other end, Diane would hit it over the bar from long range, and the game started to liven up a little bit. Started to open up a bit with both of these teams looking for the opener. Though that's probably something Charlotte does not want to do. They don't like to see it when the game is open up. Privet then hits it right to Simlet in the 77th minute before Gastek hits one right to Kalina. Then in the 85th minute, Donovan had a shot that was deflected out. And then Semlin would deny Abada in the near post. Again, it just feels like it was kind of back and forth. So that being said, as we wind down the clock, Charlotte was definitely pushing late for the equalizer, trying to maybe get a late 1-0 win, almost like a Dean Smith special. And Arfel had a chance to do so, but he hits this one right to Semlin, and yeah, I guarantee you that the Union were probably very fortunate that that one actually didn't go in because that came off of just a terrible turnover in their own, well, not only in their own half but literally in their own box too. Like that was probably could have been the difference in this game, but instead it ends in a scoreless draw on this one, and the shots in this one, 15 shots for the 11 that the Union has. So again, not because of lack of chances that is the reason why this is 0-0. There's definitely been more boring 0-0 draw I've seen this season compared to this one. 4 shots on goal for the 5 that the Union has. 3 shots off target for the 2 that the Union has. 3 shots that was blocked for the 8 that Charlotte has. And possession-wise, 60% possession compared to 40% possession that the Union has in this game. So, yeah, overall, it's just one of those games. Missed opportunity for both of these teams that are unable to get all 3 points in this one. Now, moving on in terms of the next match is DC and the Chicago Fire, and this game is kind of a microcosm of DC's season. Again, they play some good soccer under Troy Lesane, and they have these games that they perform relatively well. But unfortunately, they've also have games where they just have the one lapse of concentration, or them just kind of not finishing the games up and giving up goals. I mean, along with a couple of teams this season, like the Timbers and Sporting KC, have given up the most points in a leading position, and this happened again in this one against the Fire. Now, early on, and I also would like to say that this was kind of a game of two halves too, because DC absolutely dominated the first half. The first shot of the game did see Hopkins puts it wide from long range before Hopkins puts it high from long range in the ninth minute. DC definitely been the better team early as they were looking for the opener. And Teke would then heads it to right to Brady in the 19th minute, and then 1 minute later they take the lead. It's Christmas Day. He scored from Birnbaum and Cleek to give DC a 1-0 lead. So a rare situation where you have two defender fighting on the goal scoring and assist chart as well. And this is not because McVay heads this one. He basically hits this one off his foot. So that's even more rare to see. But yeah, that made it 1-0. The homie trying to make it 2-0, but he missed wide from the top of the arc. And again, it's been all DC early on in this game. They could have easily made this 2 or 3-0 in the first half, and that maybe is kind of another microcosm of DC this season. They just at times when they are the better team, they aren't able to capitalize most of their chances and really aren't able to pull away from their opposition. And then of course they because of that they it come back to haunt them late in the game. But in the 37th minute, McVay looked to try to score his second, but he poked it right to Brady before Acosta puts it wide on a rare opportunity for the Fire early in this one. In fact, that was probably the best chance that the Chicago Fire has in the first half because it was basically a no-show for the Fire in the first half, and somehow they're probably lucky the fact that they're only down 1-0 heading into the second half. In the second half, Stroud would hit it right to Brady before Gutierrez flashed one wide from long range. But then in the 53rd minute, Fire equalized. It's Kellen Acosta. This is his first goal that he scored ever since that amazing win assist goal that he scored against Montreal, as he scored here from Kuipers to give Chicago the equalizer here. Gutman did try to get a second, but he puts a wide in the near post. It was a very good game for Andrew Gutman, but just unlucky in this game in terms of his finishing. There was no doubt the momentum was with the Fire right now as they were pushing for the lead. Bono would then deny Gutman from close range before Gutman puts it wide from long range. By the way, I wrote Guzan there. That's the wrong player. Guzan does not play for the Fire. He's not even an outfield player too. This is what happened when I decided to write these notes relatively fast as I did just about an hour ago. Guzman then puts it wide from long range in the 76th minute. We then get a sending off from one of the Fire assistant head coach Paulo Nakamura. So not quite sure what Nakamura said, but yeah, he must have said something that got himself sent off. You usually don't see that happen, so that's why I decided to put that on the board. But fast forward in stoppage time, Bourbon would hit it wide from close range before Selassie would put one right to Bono. Both of these teams was pushing late for the win. And then Selassie tried to do so again in the 6 minute stoppage time, but he puts it wide in the near post. And yeah, in the end, again, it was kind of a bit of a tale of two halves. DC dominated the first half. I thought the Fire were the better team in the second half. And as a result, they basically cancel each other out. It's a 1-1 draw between both of these teams. And the shots kind of represent that too in the stats, represent how even this game turns out to be. 13 shots for the 12. That again, this is why I should not be writing it super fast because I put Philly in here instead of Chicago. So let me just correct that. Yeah. So 13 shots compared to 12 that Chicago had. 5 shots off target for the 4 that the Fire has. 8 shots that was off target for the 6 that DC had. 2 shots that was blocked for the none that Chicago has. And possession-wise, the Fire had more of the possession. 52% possession compared to the 48% possession that DC has in this game. And, despite the fact that it was an even kind of a game in both of these teams, you would say that the point share in this game is considered fair. Hoping either of these teams will be happy. I mean, for DC, more points drop at Audi Field, especially against a winnable side. And for Chicago, I mean, yeah, they get a roll point, but that doesn't really help their cause in terms of this brutal run that they've been going through, where them along with Atlanta has some of the longest active winless run right now in MLS. Now, moving on in terms of the next match. So, in this desperation derby between Montreal and Nashville, it also ends in a draw, but it also ends in a scoreless draw. And in many ways, this game feels like almost a carbon copy of this game because, again, this was a game where, both teams had their moments, just couldn't put the ball into the back of the net. In the first half, first shot of the game did see Sosa slice it wide from the volley before the first shot for Nashville saw Zimmerman heads it right to Seawas from the corner. Zimmerman definitely had a couple of opportunity on the header So the shots were one apiece 15 minutes into this game, would then go through a period where not much really happened, which again that's kind of expected because these teams have been really struggling on the attack lately. Lots of wet fouls and whistle that was being happened. And then Waterman cleared Godoy shot off the line there, and that came after a WTF turnover from Montreal. And this is when both of these teams started trading turnovers and really wanted to give their opposition the first goal of this game. Willis would then deny Vincent after Nashville themselves turned the ball over. Again, I thought up to this point, maybe turnover could be the difference between uh both of these teams and maybe the first goal because it seems like both of these teams just cannot stop committing turnovers early in this one. Duke would then hits the side netting in the near post, and we head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, Vincent would put it wide after a lightning counter attack there from Montreal. So Joe Anthony Vincent almost gave Nashville a little taste of their own medicine because that's a Nashville specialty. And then Lassiter would put it high on the doorstep of goal. Yeah, that's one that Ariel Lassiter would love to have back. Montreal definitely started to push for the opener with the pressure. Though on the other end, Zimmerman would head it wide on the header in the 66th minute before C. Wasp would deny Bunbury in the near post. Juan then hits it wide from long range. Again, both of these teams started trading chances. Want to get that opener and really want to get that win as well because, like I said, this is a desperation derby. Both of these teams desperately need 3 points. You would try to do so, but he curls one into the stands, and then in the first minute stoppage time on the other end, Ibrahim would hit it right to Willis, and that was it. In the end, neither of these teams could find that clinical finishing. It ends in a scoreless draw. Shots in this one, 13 shots with a 14 that Nashville has. I promise you that this board right here is the only board as I'll talk about in this review that there's going to be some low scoring game because as we'll talk about in the next board there are some very crazy game including a game where another we saw another 3-0 lead being blown in a game but in this one at least like I said no goal that was scored 13 shots compared to 14 that Nashville has 5 shots on the over to 2 that Montreal has 3 shots off target for the 6 that Montreal has 5 shots that was blocked for the 6 that Nashville has and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to the 47% possession that Nashville has in this game. And again, this is very similar to what I'll say about the DC versus Chicago game. I think, overall, when you look at how things have gone, it's fair that both of these teams get a point. That's not what either of these teams want to do. They need three points because of a bit of a bad run that they've been going through, and yeah, they don't get it, and now they're gonna have to try to do so in the next game. That being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the last 4 games to finish up the review of this first part. We're going to look at the first 8 games of match week number 15. So moving on in the next one, we got New England and NYCFC, and I know I said that there was going to be some goals on the other board, and there was only like one goal that is being scored. But I promise, as we'll get to these 2 games, that's where the firework begin. But in terms of this one, I mean, what's kind of weird about this one is that I thought New England played well in this one, and I think they definitely at least deserve a point out of this game. But unfortunately, the finishing let them down in this one. And I will also like to say that if this is the last game that Caleb Porter is going to coach for this team because as I mentioned before, it feels like he's a dead man walking right now. I mean, it's a matter of time before I think he is going to get the axe. But if this is his final game, then he's going to be coached as the head coach of the New England Revolution. At least his players kind of fought for him a little bit, and that's going to be the opposite from what we hear in the middle of the week when there's definitely some turmoil that is going on between the players and him in the locker room. Now, in the first half, there was a shot for a handball not given to New England, as I thought NYCFC was on the front foot. Actually, it wasn't New England, it was NYCFC, the one that was shouting for a handball that was not given. But there was no doubt that the visitor was on the front foot. They were looking for the early opener. Bakra went miss wide from close range because just because he scored in the last game doesn't mean that he's allowed to score in multiple games. In the 25th minute, first shot for the Revs did see Ariaga puts it wide on the header before Baroni would hit it right to freeze as the flag went up. Barrero then puts it just wide from long range. By the way, I gotta credit the New England Revolution fans that showed up in this one. It was a pretty big crowd at Gillette Stadium, and that's kind of surprising considering how bad this team has been this season. That the fans are still showing up, and again, that's definitely a great salute to all those fans that are definitely sticking around despite the fact that this team again is going through a really rough patch, probably the worst patch that they've been going through since before the Bruce Arena era. But that being said, in the 27th minute, I don't know if I said this, but Barrero will puts it just wide from long range, and New England has woke up. I mean, after not starting on time in this one, they were pressing for the opener. Baroni then puts it high from long range in the third minute stoppage time, but we do head to halftime, scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, Matt Freese was started to call into action as he denied Baroni, but it fall right to Barrero, who skies that one. Fortunate for him that wouldn't have counted because it was offside, but that was not a great effort there from Dylan Barrero. Bakra would then hits it right to Ivicic because again he's not allowed to score in back games. Veroni would then hits it high from tight angle because of course Veroni not allowed to score a lot of goals this season and really for his time with the New England Revolution. Bajevic then had a shot that was deflected and goes wide. And yes, I actually said his full last name. I'm still going with Ismail, but I'm starting getting uh, a hand of saying his last name. And then he would hit it right to Freeze in the 57th minute. And then Baroni would hit it high on the header. And then Freeze would deny Barrero on the volley. Again, these are some quality chances for New England. And this is definitely a sign of a team that, again, if you would have told me that this is a team that went through turmoil on Wednesday and they put up this kind of performance, it feels kind of weird to see that this team did go through turmoil because they were playing relatively well. Problem is they just couldn't finish, and again, even though they were knocking on the door, the question is, can they show that clinical finishing and Saul Freeze, who again was definitely on his game. Matt Freeze has been a big part of why NYCFC has been so good, and in this revitalizing kind of run that they've been in for the past month and a half. Mark Anthony K then hits it right to Freeze before Wolf had a rare opportunity for NYCFC, but he missed wide in that game after a bad giveaway from New England. But then in the 81st minute, NYCFC does take the lead as Keaton Parks would score from Gray and Hacks to give NYCFC a 1-0 lead, maybe against the run of play a little bit because besides the Hannes Wolf chance, it was pretty much New England looking like more the team to get the 1-0 lead. Jones then looked to put it away, but he missed wide there in the 85th minute. Momentum was definitely with NYCFC as they were looking to finish this game away. And again, that goal that NYCFC scored, that really they killed the momentum for New England. You can clearly see the heads definitely dropped because it's got to be so frustrating to see that you play relatively well and you have nothing to show for, and next thing you know, you concede on the other end. But in the 90th minute, Ivicic would absolutely rob Martinez as he was 1v1 with the goalkeeper, and then Bajatovic would hit it right to Freeze in the 7th minute of stoppage time. And yeah, in the end, NYCFC, they walk away with a 1-0 win in this one. The shots in this one, pretty even. 16 shots compared to 14 that NYCFC had. 6 shots on goal compared to 4 that NYCFC had. 3 shots off target compared to 6 that New England has. 4 shots off block compared to 5 that NYCFC had. And possession-wise, 57% possession compared to 43% possession that NYCFC has. So again, the stats kind of backs up that New England were the better team in this one. But when you're like the New England Revolution, who is dead last in the league and still are the only team who have not reached double-digit point total, you're not gonna get the luck that they even if you're playing well, and that's kind of how it is. And but like I said, if this is Caleb Porter last game in charge of this team, at least the team did fight for him in this game. But again, it'll be very interesting to see whether if he can last. I think he maybe still have a chance to last until the midweek games. But if this team continue to lose games, and especially if they lose games in an embarrassing fashion, yeah, Caleb Porter is definitely going to be the next head coach to be let go. Like between him and Pineda, senior picks in terms of who's going to be the next head coach to be fired this season. But one coach that is definitely not going to get fired is Nick Cushing. Again, Nick Cushing, full credit has to go to him. He was definitely in the similar position that Caleb Porter and Gonzalo Pineda found himself in about a month and a half ago. Well, this NYCFC team is on a tear right now. They are literally one of the hottest team right now in the league, and this also makes me excited. What happened when they do play against Cincinnati or Inter Miami? That should be a very interesting kind of affair when they face those two other teams that are considered right now to be the class of the East. And I will say that another team that they might be faced in terms of being the class up the East and started to get themselves going is the Columbus Crew. So the Crew definitely is starting to build some momentum heading into that final against Pachuca. As in this one, they get the win on the road. It's now three straight road wins for Wilfred Nancy's side with a 2-0 win against Orlando. 2 minutes in, Schulte would deny Montreal the front post before he puts it wide from long range in the 14th minute. As I thought Orlando on the front foot, they were looking to get the opening goal. And just like this game, I don't think Orlando played bad in this one. They had their moments in this game, but when you're a bad team, you're not putting the chances away, and you're facing against a good team. Yeah, no wonder why you end up on the losing end. But Cartagena then hits it high from the corner. The shots were 3-0 for Orlando 20 minutes in. In fact, it was mostly Orlando in the first half. Lynn was in on goal here, but he missed wide there, and then Ladero would puts it wide from long range in the 38th minute. As 40 minutes in, Columbus still had yet to register a shot. It was a very slow start for Wilfred Nancy's side in this one. But they did get a penalty in the 44th minute, and this is just peak MLS and VAR, isn't it? So originally it was a penalty that was given to Orlando. They go to VAR to see, or actually, I don't know if it was originally given a penalty. I only watched the highlights of this game, but I think they were saying that it was originally looked like they were going to give a penalty to Orlando, and they go to VAR. But then when they go to VAR, it realized there was actually another incident that happened before the potential Orlando penalty. That it seems like Morris was brought down in the box here, and VAR says that of course is the case. So again, anytime when something happened before of what happened in terms of, in this case with the potential penalty for Orlando, that pretty much looked like in terms of what happened after that. So yeah, again, Columbus probably got lucky that it was the Morris incident that came before a potential penalty there for Orlando. So yeah, instead of penalty for Orlando, it was a penalty for the Columbus Crew. And again, just a peak MLS and VAR kind of moment, and one that I'm pretty sure Orlando fans are not going to be very happy, because can you imagine your team is gonna on the verge of winning a penalty, and then you realize that not only you're not going to get a penalty, but the Uno reverse card play on you, and you give away the penalty on the other end. So yeah, as I said, it was a penalty for the Crew. Diego Rossi steps up to take the penalty, and he buries it. So that made it 1-0 in favor of the Crew. And I said against the run of play, because that officially is the first shot for the Columbus Crew up to that point. And despite only having one shot in this game, they needed 1-0 over Orlando Cities. But we head into the second half, and the second shot of the game came from the Crew as Max Arnston had a shot that was deflected and goes high. Not much really happened in the beginning of the second half, which I thought that favored Columbus. And what also favored Columbus is them getting the second goal, as in the 60th minute, Diego Rossi, he scored here from Yaboa and Morris. And again, ever since Diego Rossi finally broke that duck a couple of games ago in league play, he's now a goal scoring machine. So he scored here again to make it 2-0. Ladero did look to answer, but he was denied by Schulte in the 65th minute. And then Cartagena would hit one right to Schulte as Orlando started to push back to try to get one back. So that being said, on the other end, Ramirez was in on goal there, but he just dragged this one wide. And then almost scored an own goal and almost gifted Orlando a chance to get back into this game. But somehow, in some way, it goes right back to Schulte. Again, when you're a good team, you make your own luck, and that's kind of how it is for the Columbus Crew this season. In the 76th minute, Montreal would have a shot that was deflected and goes wide. Orlando was definitely pushing four-man forward to get one back, but that also means that it leaves space for Columbus to operate. And when you leave space against a Wilfred Nancy side, yeah, that's pretty much game over. Henestroza tried to make it 3-0, but he puts it wide from close, and then he puts it high. Or actually, he puts it right to Galese on the free kick in the first minute stoppage time. Ojeda then missed wide from close on the other end, and then Enrique had a free header there, but he has it right to Schulte. That shot pretty much summarized Orlando in this game, because despite the fact that they played relatively well in this one, they have nothing to show for it because they weren't the more clinical side. They lose this one 2-0. They still are stuck with just one win this season at home. Shots in this one, 12 shots for the 8 that Columbus had. 3 shots off goal compared to 5 that Orlando has. Both teams had 3 shots off target, 4 shots that was blocked for the 2 that Columbus had, and possession-wise, 57% possession compared to 43% possession that Orlando has in this game. And again, Orlando feels like they're suffering the same problem that Minnesota had last season, where this is a team that they are completely fearless when they're at on the road, but for whatever reason at home, they just can't get a win. And what's even more baffling is that the style that they play is not very similar to what we saw with Adrian Heath and what Minnesota did. Because I can understand why last year when Minnesota got a lot of win on the road, and in some way it's the same thing this season as well. They like to play that counter-attacking style of soccer and like to play on the transition. That's not what Oscar Pereira tends to likes to do for Orlando City. So it's kind of baffling the fact that they're winning these games on the road, but can't translate that at home. But yeah, they're gonna have to do so because the only reason as I mentioned, that they're still in this playoff race is because they're in roll form. But that's not gonna pick up, and we know that to sustain a full season winning on the road is definitely not a sustainable kind of thing. At least not more sustainable than you being doing very well at home. Yeah, Orlando's got to figure out their home form. But for Columbus, yeah, this team is red hot now, and this is where if you're an MLS fan, this is good news because you hope that Columbus can keep this good form, that they can ride this into that CCC final against Pachuca, and either way, that should be a heck of a final between both of these teams. And don't be surprised if Columbus could make some history and knock off a third Liga MX team on the road. That being said, now let's get to the crazy games. And we start off with this one between Toronto versus FC Cincinnati. And I gotta say, I know Toronto were on the losing end in this one, but I gotta give my hats off to them. They played very well in this game. And I even said in the preview, if they can get a win or get a draw out of this game, they definitely send a message to the rest of the league that they're definitely for real. And even though this is on a losing end, I think they still send a message to the rest of the league that they can definitely hang with the best team. And again, it's just unfortunate the fact that Cincinnati is a supporter shield contending team right now, and they're definitely looking like that with the way that they've been recently played. And then obviously Toronto, there are still some old habits kind of die hard in this one, as they definitely made a couple of defensive mistakes that kind of cost them in this game. So in the first shot of the game did see Spicer hits it right to Saotano. One thing I will say about this game is that if you watch only the first half, you wouldn't have guessed it that this game would be exciting. The first half wasn't really as much as excited as it is, and I've also heard that some people would say that this is the game of the season. Even MLS basically say that this could be potentially game of the season. This is definitely a great game, but I don't think this is the game of the season. I think the game of the season was that Rocky Mountain Cup that we saw between RSL versus Colorado. I mean that was just a crazy game in both halves. This was kind of crazy, especially in the second half. Though in the 17th minute, Halsey had the first chance for Cincinnati, but he hits it wide in the near post. The shots were only 2-1, 25 minutes in, and again, you wouldn't have guessed it. This game would end 4-3, 25 minutes in because it's been a bit cagey. With that being said, in the 25th minute, we saw the first of what would be a 7-goal thriller in this one, as Deborah Flores would score from Insigne to give Toronto a 1-0 lead. Insigne had a monster game in this one. And can you imagine if Bernadeschi actually played in this one? And this is why it's just so stupid of him getting a red card in the last game, because if he were in this game, he would have had a monster game alongside with Insigne. But yeah, that gives TFC a 1-0 lead. Valenzuela did look to respond, but he missed wide there. And then Marco Ruddy puts it wide off the deflection before Oriano puts it wide from close range, as both of these teams were exchanging some chances for as the half goes along. Sautano would then deny Insigne from close, but we do head to halftime with TFC leading 1-0. And then this is where the second half began, and this is where the popcorn really started to pop throughout the second half. It started with Cincinnati on the front foot coming out of the gate. Miazga missed wide from close in the 51st minute, but in the 53rd minute, Oriano would score, and Lucas Oriano had a career game in this one as he scored here to tie the game up at one apiece, and then 2 minutes later, Cincinnati takes the lead. And guess who? It's Kevin Kelsey continue his red hot goal scoring form and an instant impact. I mean, he's putting numbers similar to when Cucho Hernandez and Joseph Martinez came into the league, as he scored here to make it 2-1 in favor of Cincinnati. And this also all started because of a bad back pass from TFC. Again, it feels like old habits have started to come back to haunt this TFC team. And we have seen it this season at times where they still make those defensive mistakes. But at least it's not as often as what we saw last season, and at least the attack at times have kind of bailed them out. But yeah, that felt like a very TFC goal to concede from last season, and it happened here as well. But also that's also kind of a very Cincinnati kind of moment where this is a team that we've seen it before this season. Just because they're 1-0 down in part of the road game, they can quickly strike and take the lead, and they did it again at least up to this point. And this is when I thought, well, looks like Cincinnati's gonna walk away with a 2-1 win in this one, scoring those two quick goals like they have done a couple of times this season, right? Well, TFC says not so fast, because after Flores looked to respond but missed hide on the header, they would get the equalizer, Toronto, and it's actually gone down as an own goal from Ian Murphy. Though originally, I think this goal was given to I don't know who it was given, but it was given to one of the TFC players. By the way, I've spelled Ian Murphy name wrong there. There's no E in there, so let me erase that. But yeah, that made it 2-2 in this one. Chelsea did look to respond, but he hits that one right to Johnson before Oriano missed wide from long range. Now all of a sudden, Cincinnati was pressing back to try to get the lead again. That second half, it was a pendulum swing in terms of the momentum. And in fact, with the momentum with Cincinnati, they would eventually take the lead back as Oriano would score his second goal from Sergio Santos to tie the game up and or not tie the game up, but give Cincinnati the lead in this one. But eventually the game would be tied again because the penalty was given to TFC, and again that goal that Cincinnati scored to take the lead. The lead did not last long though, because again penalty was given to TFC as Owusu was brought down by Miazga. Insigne steps up to take the penalty and he buries it. So yeah, it was all square at 3 apiece. Chelsea would then hit one right to Johnson before Franklin missed high in the near post. And then speaking of the post, it denied Insigne from long range in the 89th minute. Imagine if that one went in. That was a great effort there from Lorenzo Insigne. I mean, Mo Field was just completely erupted if that one went in. But there was no doubt that Toronto was pressing hard to try to get all 3 points in this one. Field tried to do so, but he missed wide from long range. But then in the third minute of stoppage time, this is why Cincinnati is a Supporter Shield contender, because just as you think that you did enough to get a big point against them, they strike late and break your hearts. As of all player to do so, it's Sergio Santos, the one that does so. A guy that just seems like he's not been able to score goals and kind of become a bit of a forgotten man for Cincinnati. But he scored here from Assad and Acosta to make it 4-3 in this one. So talk about forgotten man. That was kind of almost like a forgotten man goal with the goal and the primary assist, because here you have Sergio Santos, kind of a forgotten man in terms of the depth chart on the forward group, and then Yamil Assad. You probably forgot that he's now playing for FC Cincinnati. I mean, he's been bounced around a couple of teams and bounced around in and out of the league, but he's now back in the league and he puts up the assist in this one, and yeah, that gives Cincinnati a 4-3 lead, and that has to be heartbreaking for TFC. And really, it was kind of against the run of play, because I thought Toronto was really building some momentum late to win this one. So that being said, on the other end, immediately Insigne responds to tie the game up at 4 apiece. Problem was the flag did not think that it tied. The game was tied at 4 apiece because it came out for offside. So yeah, that was unfortunate, and it was offside. It was the correct call, but yeah, in the end, TFC they gave it all in this one. Fall a little bit short in this one, and Cincinnati outlasts TFC in this one. 4-3 is the result. This game kind of is very similar to the one we saw last week in the Rocky Mountain Cup, where Colorado actually had some good chances and they played well in that one, but they just could not be able to overcome the more talented team that is RSO. And this is kind of the same case with Toronto, just couldn't quite overcome the power that FC Cincinnati has had. As the shots of this one, 11 shots for the 15 that Cincinnati has, 7 shots on goal for the 4 that TFC had, 7 shots off target for the 3 that TFC had, 1 shot was blocked for the 2 that TFC had, and possession-wise, 48% possession compared to 52% possession that Cincinnati has in this game. And tomorrow, a little spoiler alert: Miami did win their game, so Cincinnati didn't actually get the first ball there, but they at least keep pace in terms of that supporter shield raise, and that, yeah, they definitely look like a team that could win the supporter shield, and look like a team from last season as well. This season very similar to last year, where they start off slow and weren't scoring the goals. Now that they're starting to find forms, and not only they think they might have just found their Brendan Vasquez replacement with Kevin Kelsey, things are starting to look well for Cincinnati. But for Toronto, again, they fought hard in this game, and I know it's on a losing effort, but they have to keep their heads high in this one, and also maybe stop those defensive mistakes and committing too many of that, because again, if they can clean that up, I think John Herman team is definitely in business. I think they're still in business. I think they're if they keep playing like this, they are definitely a playoff contender, and on hand of perhaps have one of the most surprising season and the most unexpected season we have seen in this league history. Because again, this is a team everybody nailed them as a wooden spoon winner in the beginning of the season, and now it seems like they look like they could be back to the old of Toronto, and a team that is a very entertaining team to watch under John Herman, especially with those two Italians starting to get going on the attacking end. Now, that being said, moving on into the last game on this board is Dallas and RSL, and for the second time this season, we saw a 3-0 lead that is being blown, and especially in the last 30 minutes of this game. But this game kind of felt a little different than the 3-0 lead that Sporting KC blown to the Timbers. And in some way, I would say that, while the Sporting KC versus the Timbers game, that was just a complete meltdown from Sporting KC, especially they dominate that game. I wouldn't say this was anything same in terms of this one. In fact, I would say that Dallas may be a little fortunate that they were 3-0 up, considering, yeah, Zach McMath definitely had an absolute nightmare of a goalkeeping display, and he is probably thanking his teammate, and especially Nelson Palacio, to bail him out in this one. Because yeah, RSL again, they show you why they're at the top of the Western Conference right now. They show that fight back to earn themselves a point, and just like what the Timbers did, came back from a 3-0 deficit. In the first half, Junko would hit one right to McMath before Arango would miss wide as he tried to toe poke that one in. Crooks then hits it high from close range, and then the post would deny Arango from long range in the 17 minutes. It's hard to believe in this 6-goal affair, Arango didn't get on the score sheet, because you would assume with so many goals that's being scored, at least Chicho Arango would be on the score sheet, right? Well, he wasn't. He actually was kept off the score sheet. In fact, I don't think he was even on the assist chart at all out of the free goals that are scored. Yeah, I don't see his name in terms of the free goals that are scored not only on the goal scoring part but also on the assist part. But that also is a credit to Dallas in terms of keeping him intact. But this also just kind of shows you that this RSL team is not just about Chicho Arango. They have other weapons on the attack too, and that what makes this RSL team really scary this season. But there was no doubt that RSL was knocking on the door. And by the way, Arango was kind of unlucky too, because the post would then deny him from long range, and you can see that Salt Lake was definitely knocking on the door. They were trying to get the opener. Ojeda would then puts it wide, despite he had an empty net there, and that came over the WTF turnover from Dallas. Yeah, that's something you do not want to give to this RSL attack, and they really got away with one there. McMath then denied Musa, but he actually almost made an error here, as he almost got beaten in that near post. It was a very unconvincing save. And that would also foreshadow the night that Zach McMath would have for RSL in this game. But that being said, Musa would hit one right to McMath. By the way, that shot from Musa came off the post as well. This would be just a very frustrating night for Petar Musa, to a point where he at point in the second half he was just completely snake bitten. In the 29th minute, Pass would deny Luna after another giveaway from Dallas, and Dallas got to watch out to stop turning the ball over, because there was just way too many times that they were turning the ball over. And when you face against this lethal RSL team, you're just asking to give up the opening goal in this one. So that being said, McMath did deny Delgado from long range, but then yeah, this is one of the two horror moment happened to Zach McMath, as Aramonde would actually get credit off this goal as he scored from Delgado. But yeah, this is one that McMath would not want to look back. And it's almost like I think McMath kind of got caught in two minds here, where when the ball was coming in, he was deciding whether if he was going to catch this one or punch that, and he kind of did both. And yeah, that did not go so well, did it? He basically fumbled it into the back of the net. And yeah, just like that, Dallas was gifted a 1-0 lead. And then they tried to get a second one, but McMahon at least did a better job here. He denied Ariola from close range, and we head to halftime with Dallas leading 1-0. In the second half, Glad would then block Musa shot off the line in the 49th minute, and then 2 minutes later, it was Andrew Brody time to block Musa shot off the line again. Up to this point, I immediately wrote Musa as clearly snake bin because he just simply cannot buy the goal in this game with the amount of chances that he's been getting. Though Paz would deny Luna from close range, and then the post would deny Gomez from long range. So that is the second time tonight that RSL had hit the post, and the third time too tonight that the post got in the way. Of course, that one then came when McMath almost got beaten in the near post relatively easily. Well, there was no doubt the momentum was back with RSL as they were pushing for the equalizer. But then in the 57th minute, this is when the second horror moment happened to Zach McMath. So Delgado, of course, gets the credit for this goal. But yeah, McMath kind of had a Braguzan moment here. He came off his lines trying to clear this one away. Doesn't do a good job to do so. Completely mishits it. And yeah, Delgado got the ball and he basically puts it into the empty net. And yeah, somehow in some way, Dallas were leading 2-0, and then just a couple of minutes later, Oriola would score from Aramundi to make it 3-0. And this is when, yeah, you can sense that maybe the floodgates were truly open, and RSL clearly looked like they were rattled. But to their credit, they did get one back immediately, and that this was important too because this I think kind of really what started the comeback for them, because if they didn't score this goal, I didn't think they would come back from this 3-0 deficit. As Diego Luna immediately get one back for RSL, he scored from Crooks to make it 3-1 in this one. What is defending? Because yeah, it was definitely optional, at least in the beginning part of the second half. You can also say what is goalkeeping too, especially on the RSL part. Musa was in on goal there, but yeah, he's not allowed to score a goal in this one, and he missed that one wide. It would be a costly miss because in the 73rd minute, Julio would score from Chang to give RSL the second goal and pull within one, and this is when you just realize that yeah, seems like the meltdown could happen for Dallas in this one. But in the 74th minute, Arango missed just wide from long range. The momentum clearly once again with RSL as they were looking to complete the 3-0 comeback. Chang would then miss it high from close range before Acosta puts it high from long range, and you can clearly see the bus was firmly parked for Dallas. They were praying to hope that they can walk away with the 3-2 win, and they almost did. But then Nelson Palacio strikes. So he scored here from Julio to make it 3-3 in this one. And you know, when you're basically see a lot of traffic, why not just go long range and see what happened? Because when you hit the ball into traffic, you never know. Maybe it takes a deflection and it goes in. It didn't take a deflection though too, but still just very hard for Martin Pasta to see that. And by the time you see that, it was too late. It's in the back of the net, and for the second time this season, we saw a 3-0 lead that is being blown, and for the second time it happened to the home team as Dallas blew a 3-0 lead in this one. RSL came back to get a point out of this game. The shots in this one, 16 shots compared to the 19 that RSL had, 11 shots on goal compared to 8 that RSL had, 7 shots off target compared to 3 that Dallas had, 2 shots that was blocked compared to 4 that Dallas had, and possession-wise, 58% possession compared to the 42% possession that Dallas has in this game. Though, again, like I said, compared to the 3-0 meltdown that Sporting KC suffered, I feel like this meltdown wasn't as bad as a meltdown as 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 the Sporting KC one. And I know that sounds like a very sentiment kind of thing to say to Dallas fan. I mean, they'll just say that it's still a 3-0 lead that is blown, and that is true. But I think you got to say that this was kind of a bit of an even game, and really, again, Dallas got really lucky. The fact that they were 3-0 up in this one, like besides the Ariola goal, those two goals that they've scored, the first two goals was just Zach McMath making some brain dead kind of a mistake that cost his team. And again, he's definitely going to be buying his attacker a beer or two, and definitely owe them a lot after just simply getting bailed out because of those bad mistakes that he made. But yeah, there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of looking at the first 8 games of this review, and in the next 6 games and the last 6 games, I'm going to talk about match week number 15. Again, it's going to be kind of similar. There were definitely some games that had some high scoring affair, and the road team continued their dominance as only 2 home team, of course, won this week. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys like, smash the subscribe button. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of these games. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.